Yo people. Okay, so I've got another one. Now this one will be only relevant to people who have been awakened for a fair amount of time, because they'll know who both these guys are. If you're only awakened a bit, it's possible that you don't know who either of them are. So yeah, just bear that in mind basically. But for those that have been awake for a while, these two are very well known, and this was probably going to piss some people off, but quite frankly, I couldn't give a shit because I'm about truth. So, without further ado, I'm 100% confident now that Bill Cooper, the man who supposedly died in a gun shootout with police, is now playing the role of Jordan Maxwell. So, for those that you don't know, Bill Cooper was one of the first, if not the first, quote-unquote conspiracy theorist person, and woke a lot of people up back in the 90s. And Jordan Maxwell is another conspiracy person who came on the scene in the early 2000s, not long, if not exactly the same time after Bill Cooper died. So let's look into it. So Milton William Cooper, known as Bill Cooper, supposedly died in November the 5th, 2001 after a police shootout, where he said he wouldn't be taken alive. As you can see there, he's born in 1943, died supposedly 2001. So a few interesting things. His dad was in the United States Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel Milton Vernis Cooper. So obviously that's an interesting connection, especially with a video I'll show you in a minute and what he says. Also, it says here little is known about Cooper's background. That's very interesting, isn't it? And is said to have been in the United States Air Force and Naval Intelligence himself. Very interesting. Let's look at Jordan Maxwell. So he hasn't got a wiki page, which is interesting in itself. So I found this. So he was born in 1940. So similar age to Bill Cooper. And both of them were known for conspiracy radio shows. So this was, as far as I can see, this was Jordan Maxwell's first book. And this came out in around 2000. And his second book came out in around 2000 or 2001. So Bill was supposedly died in 2001, just before September 11th. And this was the whole thing because he was supposedly killed for talking about it. Yeah, okay. So very convenient timeline, dropping these books just before Bill Cooper's death. Nice time for the transition of Bill Cooper to become Jordan Maxwell. So a lot of people are going to have problems believing that Bill Cooper was part of it, let alone believing that he is Jordan Maxwell. So let's just look at some interesting footage of Bill Cooper admitting he's a Freemason.
In order to the Rose and Cross, but you have to be high degrees for that. I think the reason I was selected as enlisted man is because I had belonged to the Demolay Society.
Which is what?
As a teenager. That's sort of the first level of Freemasonry. That's how they recruit teenagers and indoctrinate them into their principles so that they go right into Freemasonry when they become an adult. So basically that's the story.
So blatantly admitting that he was as a teenager, he was in the Demolay Society for Freemasons, and saying that that's when they indoctrinate you, and then you go into be a Freemason when you're adult. So he's basically admitting, and the way he finishes that there, he realises what he's saying. Now let's look at another bit of interesting footage.
It's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you will remember that President Eisenhower formed this secret group in 1954. He was the last president who knew everything. They began in 1954 to issue secret executive orders in the form of NSC memos to wrest power away from the president and effectively isolate the president. They took the power to appoint appointees in the government away from the president. And if the president wants to appoint someone whom they don't want him to appoint, they have a way of embarrassing.
So interesting hand signal there, blatantly there, Bill. And look at him in this picture compared to like that him talking there. He almost looks like his eyes look strange in this picture. So yeah, like you know, he's blatantly part of it with just those two bits of evidence alone. Interesting, a film was made of him called The Hour of Our Time with the sun being blacked out. Saturn was known as the Black Sun, by the way. Now let's look at some evidence for Jordan Maxwell being part of it.
Tried to arrest you or to frighten you or do anything to you? I said, no. And he said, have you ever wondered why? And I said, I've never thought about it. He said, no one has harmed you because of us. We are protecting you. We follow you everywhere you go. We know what you're doing. And we're protecting you.
So that's just a clip there, and I'll put the link to that full interview, which he basically ultimately admits that he's protected and is part of it in a roundabout way. So these are interesting photos, which I took from a website called Ex-Disciple. Well, if you can see on Bill Cooper's right eye, there's a scar. And when we zoom in, it's not easy to see. It seems like they've done some work on it. But as we zoom in on Jordan Maxwell's right eye, you can just about make out that little scar. Like, it's a lot less. They've done some work on it, but you can just about see it there, just above his right eyebrow. There's a picture of him, Jordan Maxwell, doing his radio show. And then another one of Jordan Maxwell, but looking very much like Bill Cooper there. Just with a fat face, done some work on the face. Here's an interesting picture. Jordan Maxwell with Michael Eisner, CEO of Disney, and George Lucas. I mean, you know, you don't get much more part of it than those two, eh? Interesting that Jordan Maxwell took the same glasses that Bill Cooper used to wear. Both conspiracy researchers, both radio show hosts, both with connections to Freemasons. Now, the thing that people will automatically try and debunk this with is that they did a radio show with each other. But that's easy to fake, and it's a radio show. You don't see them. And if you Google it, there is literally no pictures of Bill Cooper and Jordan Maxwell together. None. So to me that says it all. You can easily fake a radio show, do two different voices speaking with each other, have someone acting for someone with the same voice, many ways. If you know people in Hollywood like Disney and George Lucas here, you can do any of this stuff. So yeah, like I'm convinced 100%. The scar on the eye is definitely telling. The timelines, it just all makes sense. Same glasses, they like to take the piss, they like to mock, you know. But for me, no doubt, Bill Cooper didn't die, faked his death, and it's now Jordan Maxwell. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace!